As you're upgrading your team's culture, one of the biggest questions that comes up in this journey is your team regenerative? Whether your team is a workspace or it's your family or it's an activity that you are doing with others, what is the activity that is happening, and is it regenerative? Do you feel recharged after doing the having meeting with your team? Do you have more energy than when you first came in, than when you started your work? The and this really hints into if is your team giving you energy or is it taking energy from you, and is the energy a giving and take kind of act, and is this giving and take conscious? So in this video I want to talk to you about what are the hints and what things to look out for to create a regenerative team, or a team where the practices are regenerative. So why is regenerative even important? This regenerative part is that if you are not regenerative, if something in essence is not regenerative, it eventually is destined to collapse. It's something that is destined to reach a bottom and die and collapse. So what makes something regenerative is that it has the capacity to regenerate itself, that it has built inside of its mechanic the capacity to regenerate the same function, to perpetuate itself, to continue even beyond the death of members or the death of stuff, even after transformation, that it has a capacity to regenerate. So in my experience from being in a non-regenerative teams is that my energy gets consumed. I am there, perhaps I get there with lots of energy, especially towards the beginning of a collaboration. There is so much energy, and you come out. Imagine that first time when you got your first job, when you got your job and you were just lit on, and it's like, I got a job, somebody sees me, I'm gonna be doing my work here. And you started noticing all of the different things. You started noticing what was working great. You started noticing also what was not working great, what was like the faults and the things that were like where there is not efficiency, and you're just so much on fire about having that work, about working in that space, and just like clarity about all these sorts of different things. And I don't know if you're anything like me, like I was writing things down, and one of the things that I used to do and that I'm still working on is like that I see only the faults. I see what will be going wrong, and kind of like part of that is also providing solutions, or breaking it down into small problems to fix it. But the point is that you are at that point in the collaboration, at the beginning of the collaboration, you have energy, and energy is one of the tellers about regeneration, if something is regenerative or if it's something that is not regenerative. So at the beginning of a collaboration, like even like when you think about a relationship, when you get first into a relationship, there is lots of energy, lots of attention. It's like almost an excess of attention. Like you have so much attention that it overflows, and it pours, and it regenerates itself. And something happens along the way where that attention and that energy starts getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. I don't know if you've noticed this in a job. When you've been in a job for 3 months, after 3 months you already kind of are embedded into the culture of the company, or of the team, or of the job, and you already know how things kind of move, like where there is blockages that you are kind of like expecting, the things that you can say, the things that you cannot say. And also this happens when you have like after 6 months, then you have already like more gain awareness about how it goes into the culture, and your attention is not as overflowing as at the beginning. There is a lack, like your attention it has reduced. It's like you already know the space, and perhaps your attention moves into some other things, and perhaps it moves into other space. Perhaps you're thinking after 6 months of being in a workspace that, oh, like what am I gonna do tonight when I get home? Like what game am I gonna play? Or what am I gonna write about? Or what movie am I gonna watch? Stuff like that. And it's like your attention stops being in the part of the space because perhaps you've been told that attention is not needed here. Like we cannot fix these problems that you're telling us, or we don't have the capacity to do what you're asking for, or there is no space for all of the things that you bring into the space. For example, if you have an idea to improve the way that sales are made in your workspace, and then you bring up the proposal like, hey, I found out that if we do this in the sales process, that we could improve how our people are feeling. So it brings, and then you get rejected. It's like, no, like this is how our sales process goes, and the salespeople, they know how it goes, and we don't really have the budget, or we don't really think it's a good idea, or so the turn is that it gets shut down. And this happened, I'm giving this as an example in a workspace, but this also happens in relationships. It happens in other teams. And at that moment, there is a like there is a reducing of your attention, or a reducing of the energy. It's like a part of the space saying like there is no space for this part of you here. So that part of you here, it goes somewhere else. And then this as this happens more and more, then your capacity and attention is like, okay, we only need this much of your attention here, and the rest we don't need it. So then your energy is kind of like somewhere else, and then the little bit of energy that you have for the company, let's say if you have a job of filling up forms in the computer and like entering data, like looking at data, putting it in the computer, and it only needs like this much of your attention or this much of your energy. So then the rest of your energy is doing some other stuff. And this is in terms of regenerative, one of the things that kills regeneration the most is when the energy is not being used at its full potential. When energy is wasted, like think about these bureaucratic spaces where to fill up the toilet paper in the bathroom, you have to go to like all of these different steps, report it to the management, and then the management fills out the form where there is we need to put a new toilet paper, and then that toilet paper gets passed on to the management, and then the upper management, and then the upper management approves the move, and then it gets put on the sales request to buy the toilet paper, and then so it's like all of this mechanism and all of this stuff that is like steps and steps to fulfill like very small stuff, like getting a toilet paper and putting it in the bathroom. And this is of course an exaggerated version of this, but I'm trying to paint the picture of bureaucracy and where the energy just doesn't flow. The energy flows in these like dams. There's like a dam, then opens the dam, then there's another dam, then there's another dam, there's another dam. And so this big, massive amount of energy, it gets reduced to this much. So this might be a hint that in teams where this happens a lot, this actually creates a reducing of the potential of how it could go in your team. And it makes sense. This is something, and when I said it's like how can you have a team? This is a real question. How can you have a team where all of the potential of a human being, imagine like all of these things that you notice in the first day at job, at your work, how can you have a team where that is a possibility, where that those resources are actually used for the evolution, the growth, and the flying of the team, for giving life to the team? Imagine, okay, how somebody just came in, they have a noticing about how things could go and what things could be changed, and then a proposal is made, and then that energy gets used to transform the team, to say like, yeah, let's try that, or let's do something like that, or we've already tried that, but this is new, let's use this and bring it in, and instead of blocking that energy, for the new energy that is coming, instead of blocking it, like what would a team look like in a place where it can be open, where it's used, where that energy is actually used for something instead of blocked? No, that energy you can take it home, you can take it to your hobby team or to whatever else, but it's not for here. So I find that this is a waste of resources. This is a waste of your human potential. This is a waste of essentially time on earth. A waste of human potential, because you have this full human that has a potential, and of course, like, it doesn't mean that you have to accept and work with everybody's ideas, but it is in a way like we're not using it. It's like there is a waste, a massive waste of energy that goes on in here. And this massive waste of energy makes stuff not regenerative. It makes it not regenerative because, or this massive waste of energy, it just is energy that your company and your team and your humans team, the humans in your team, that they need for the space to be regenerative. If the people in your team only have a space for expressing this much, but they actually are this big, then they're gonna feel at work like they're small. And if that's a strategy in your job, that you want to make people feel small, or you need people to be small, then like you're missing out on the whole thing. You're missing out on the full potential of the human being. And then that human being is only going to be able to be that much at work, when what the soul wants, what the human being wants, is to be its full potential, to express and live life in its full potential, to give and create an impact in the world in its full potential. And it takes me to my next point, which is the initiations. If you don't have in your company, in your organization, a way for your team to know where they're at, and to know what their next initiation is, and to know to have a space where they can grow and evolve, then you have a place where you want people in their boxes. And you want people in their boxes because I don't know, whatever the purpose is for that you want them in their box. And eventually the human being is going to want to come out of their box, like to be fully alive, to grow out of the box, right? So for creating a company or a team where you create the possibility for somebody to come out of their box, it requires a change of context in your team, and an upgrade of your culture. That you are clear about people change, people grow, people want to keep growing, people want to keep evolving and working more towards their potential and what they're capable of, taking more responsibility, taking more becoming more alive, getting better at certain skills. So this requires a change in your team to create a space for that evolution, because the evolution, the shape of the human being itself, it changes. And if you don't have that in your context, the human being in your team is going to feel in a box, and they're going to feel that when they come to the space they have to be in that box, and that the box is what's actually wanted and needed. And it might be the case in many organizations and teams that is what's needed. And then as soon as the employee or the team member comes out of that box, then it gets discarded. Yeah, okay, let's find another box. This one gets discarded, which is great, because now this being is freed up and it can move on to find another place where now it can continue its evolution. But if you want a team where you love the human being, where you love life, and you are connected with earth, with and you want your team to be a regenerative space, then you need these spaces where evolution is possible, where somebody could come as this box, but then they grow out of that box, they go through a revolutionary process of discovering who they are and discovering what they really care about, and what they're really inert for, and they discover the next step, and they grow out of that box. Everything shatters, they cry, they become heartbroken for a few weeks, for a month, for months. And that somehow your team creates, and it's not somehow, there is a context in your team that holds the clarity that that team is there for that. How awesome will that be? How awesome is that? Because it's not a theoretical thing. This is already happening in teams that I'm in collaboration with. This is the context of some teams that I'm already in collaboration with. And this is the possibility that I'm bringing for teams where that is not a possibility yet, where if the team member comes out of the box and everybody freaks out, like, oh, what is this? Like, well, like, you're not your box. And then this card is too scary, it's too unknown, discard it, put it aside. That's the majority of the teams right now in planet Earth. So creating a context for a team where evolution is possible and is wanted and is not just encouraged, but is the basis of uh, how human life goes, then this completely creates a different space for your team, for you. And and of course there is like steps about this, about how to go about this, what is the context that you need to set. um, that I cannot say it all in one video. And the purpose of this video is to bring it back to this question: is your team regenerative? Do people in your team feel more recharged? Do they feel alive when they are done at the end of the day, when they're done work? Are they alive in the space? Do they have a space where they can, all of their different parts can come alive? Do you have the clarity in your team to handle all of the different complexities of humanity and of life? And and almost like, do you have a process for and a clarity and a process for handling the human emotions, and even like the more sticky ones, like projections, when somebody's projecting emotions or projecting stories and expectations and resentments onto other people in the team, and when somebody is blaming or even taking revenge for something that they didn't like, having having space for this context where you where you say, like, this is the framework and this is who this is what we are, and that your context, your new context, your upgraded context has the capacity to hold that. And imagine being in a team where you are loved for who you are, where you are loved, um, and you are cared for, and your team is committed to your commitment, where your team is committed to you evolving and growing and healing. So this is the proposal and invitation that comes right now as a form of a question, and this is what creates a regenerative team. When you go into work and you know that there is a space for you in that space of work, in that space, in that teamwork, in that teamship, for your whole being to express, no matter where you are, and that the context can hold it for you to be there. So what kind of team are you in right now? Are you in a regenerative team? And have you seen this in other teams? What do they do? What kind of practices do they implement to have a regenerative team, where the energy doesn't get wasted and chopped up and divided, but that it gets reused and recycled? This excess of energy, it gets reused and recycled. What do you do, and how does it look in different teams? And yeah, I would love to hear more about this. This is a research question, and also an invitation to ask me if you want to know more about how it goes in the teams that I'm in collaboration with, and how do we produce results, how do we hold space for each other, how do we have fun and collaborate, how do we evolve, how do we hold space for the evolution, how do we hold space for the crashing of the team and the breakthroughs and the breakdowns. This is all different, like part of what the context that is set to create a regenerative game. So thank you for watching, and I hope you find some value in this video, and I'll see you again next time in the next video. Bye for now.